Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis, Pulse 95.
Everybody, good morning. Welcome back to the program. We go over to Afghanistan to follow the situation, the evacuation of the United States troops and those who had worked for the United States from Afghanistan, and a pretty complicated situation. In fact, if you look at the footage from Kabul airport, there's mayhem, there's chaos, and violence as well has erupted, according to reports. In fact, an incident in which reportedly an unknown hostile actor fired upon Afghan security forces that were involved in monitoring access to the airport's gate. That was witnessed as well, and this is according to the United States military. They said the Afghans returned fire, and in keeping with their right to self-defense, so did United States and coalition troops. We've also seen, for instance, 3 U.S. military helicopters flying less than 200 meters just to bring 169 Americans from a building a short distance away from the airport to the airport. So you're seeing scenes of absurdity, of violence, of chaos, and things are getting very, very intense over there as well, prompting the G7 to discuss the crisis in their meeting today. U.S. President Joe Biden's also under immense pressure to extend the August 31st deadline for the withdrawal of U.S. troops. There's around 5,800 of those, and Biden's been receiving a lot of criticism back home over the situation. But will he do it, especially since the Taliban have been saying that there might be consequences if the United States remained beyond this deadline?
Yeah, we're all looking forward to that meeting, the G7 leaders meeting. The leaders of the G7 advanced economies, they're expected to pledge unity on whether or not to officially recognize or sanction the Taliban when they meet virtually to discuss Afghanistan today. And U.S. allies, they're still smarting from Washington's delays and outreach after Kabul fell on the 15th of August, and foreign diplomats in Washington said cooperation, it will be a key theme of that call. And one European diplomat even said the G7 leaders will agree to coordinate on if or when to recognize the Taliban, and they will commit to continue to work closely together.
Yeah, I mean, the situation at the moment is with the militant group also speaking to international media, the spokesperson saying that, look, this is the absolute deadline, August 31. If you seek additional time to continue the evacuations, the answer is no. There would be consequences. In Kabul, authorities have already started dismantling the 4-meter steel reinforced blast walls that have protected political leaders, government officials, and foreign missions for the past 20 years. So the famous green zone. We're also looking at how this group is going to decide, because what we understand is from people on the ground, Sir Laurie Bristow, he's the British ambassador to Afghanistan. He spoke to the MPs in the United Kingdom, said trying to hold Kabul's airport any longer would be fraught with risk. Now, this is a bit of a different situation to what Boris Johnson and the other G7 leaders will be lobbying with President Joe Biden, is about the extension of the evacuation beyond the end of the month. But if people on the ground are saying that it's going to be very difficult, that's something to remember. But on the other hand as well, there's another bit of a development over in the Panjshir Valley. This is the last remaining stronghold, or one of the two. There's 2 provinces that are still not under the Taliban control, and Panjshir is one of the strongest one because it's traditionally always been kind of independent, because it's got a very Tajik ethnicity, and people there speak Dari, which is the local Persian language, as opposed to what the Taliban are, which are mainly a Pashtun group. But at the moment, all eyes will be on the country, and it seems this is going to be the game changing of a scenario in the last week of August.
Definitely, and it's going to be interesting to see as well how countries start dealing with Afghanistan moving forward as well. For instance, in the G7 meeting, whether they decide to impose sanctions or they recognize the Taliban officially. One thing is for sure, Taliban's acting a bit different this time around. I mean, you get the spokespeople making the rounds on television. They speak great English, and they seem very intent on sort of creating international recognition as a way to survive. So, I mean, the new Afghanistan is another question here, but we'll also have to see just how those G7 nations decide to deal with it moving forward.
I think most of us, most of the people who have become experts in the Afghan situation, they're all obviously concerned about what's going to happen with the domestic policies, especially when it comes to women employment, women empowerment. Are they going to get the equal rights that they've promised? But this is it. Everyone, a lot of experts within Afghanistan also say is take whatever they say or the group say with a pinch of salt, because they'll say something and they'll promise something, but the actions could be something different as well. So we all will have to see what happens after the 31st of August deadline. But so far, it appears that the G7 meeting is something that's going to be the key area here, the key point of discussion, and we'll certainly keep a close eye on the developments and thoughts coming out of that part of the world. I'd like to, as a little bit of a tribute to the country, I'd also like to do a bit of a quiz as well. Why not? Because, every single time we've had situations, whether it's PPE, whether it is the COVID-19 scenario, whether it is the climate change, everyone becomes an expert, Everyone knows a lot about whatever they want to say. My question to our listeners is to celebrate, to recognize the significance of the country. What is the total number of provinces in Afghanistan? How many provinces does that country have? If you take an estimate or a wild guess, what number would you say? Text lines are open, 4215. They're active for you to get involved and take part in this little bit of a quiz situation to charge your brains. How many provinces does Afghanistan have? Text us on that number, and we'll be back again here on the Morning Majlis. Up next, we talk to you about another country in Scandinavia, which is also going through a political crisis of its own. This is the Morning Majlis, only on Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
Between local lines, notes from the Emirates. Pulse.
Well, for students here in the country, we're in the final week of the summer holiday, and this week is traditionally a busy time period for the parents who've got to scramble to get their kids ready for school. And years ago, it used to be buy your school supplies, your uniforms, but now you got to keep up with all the mandates for PCR testing and vaccination, and there are a lot of rules to keep track of, but that's what we're going to go over in this segment. So as per the federal mandate, students aged 16 and over, they have to be immunized to return to in-person learning. Also, students ages 12 and over need to have had a PCR test prior to their return. But now, zooming in on Sharjah, as per the Sharjah Private Education Authority, they're saying that students under the age of 12 will not need to undergo those regular COVID-19 tests?
That's right, Ahmed. Sharjah's private schools will not be affected by the UAE's latest federal announcement on testing unvaccinated people for COVID-19. In fact, the chairman of the Sharjah Private Education Authority said that we will continue to work according to the guidelines we have announced. If any updates should happen, we will announce it for sure. Now, according to its previously announced rules, people aged 12 and above must have a COVID-19 test before returning for the start of the school term. After that, no other tests are mandated. School employees must be fully vaccinated, though, and will also require to present a negative PCR test result before their first day back at work. Some staff are exempt from the vaccination rules, such as pregnant women and those who might have an adverse reaction to the vaccine. Those people are required to take weekly PCR tests throughout the school year, as are any staff who have chosen not to be inoculated against the COVID-19. Now, newly hired school employees who are not yet vaccinated will be given 2 months to have both vaccine shots as well. Now, during that grace period, they will have to undergo weekly testing as well.
This is good news, because I think for children under the age of 12, it's not easy to be able to do the test. And I think for us, even though it's super uncomfortable. We just do it. We just get used to it, don't we? But I think for the young ones, it's a massive deterring thing, and the last thing you want is schools to be empty and parents to be thinking, I don't want to put my children through such a hassle. So very good news for all the school students here in the Emirate of Sharjah who are under the age of 12. You don't have to go through regular testing. Another news that's emerging from the Sharjah Private Education Authority is they've signed an MOU with the Gulf Educational Centre for Arabic Studies, and that is also aimed at enhancing prospects for cooperation between both the sides, and they are going to be looking at the interest in the Arabic language and realizing it as an integral part of the Private Education Authority's strategy aimed at enhancing the status of Arabic language and looking at innovating new methods of learning and teaching for teachers and students as well. So this is going to be a great news emerging from the Emirate of Sharjah. What we're going to do now is catch up with the world of culture and check out what the Sharjah Department of Culture has been doing in terms of highlighting the significance of the cultural offerings here in the Emirate. Stay with us in the morning Majlis. Lots of musical entertainment lined up for you. Up next, we have a bit of Justin Bieber to keep you motivated as well. And once again, guys, we did throw out a bit of a quiz question this morning for all of you who are very well versed nowadays with Afghanistan. Some of you have become experts, and the question that we're going to throw at you today is, how many provinces are there in Afghanistan? If you've got a wild guess, if you've got a number that you think it is, that you think is the right answer, text us on 4215. We'll be back after this Justin Bieber break, and we'll continue the discussions here on the Morning Majlis.
Pulse 95. The Morning Majlis. Talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
The Sharjah Department of Culture announced that it has issued more than 60 titles in creativity and knowledge during the first 8 months of this year. Now, according to the chairman of the Sharjah Department of Culture, Abdullah Al-Awais, he did stress that these publications contribute to enriching national and Arab libraries with arts and knowledge, in addition to benefiting scholars and researchers and those interested in literature, arts, and also various fields of culture. And those publications were actually distributed in several fields, including 26 titles in the field of poetry, story, and novel, 6 titles in children's literature, and 12 titles in the field of cinema, theater, and arts, as well as titles in the field of critical studies, encyclopedias, and university theses.
Yes, and the Department of Culture's chairman also affirmed that the SDC's publications will be available in Arab and international book fairs and libraries in the Arab countries and in book marketing worldwide. And speaking of culture, speaking of destinations that the Emirate of Sharjah has to offer, one particular monument or a location that is that is regarded as one of the favourites of many people here in the Emirate is going to be the famous House of Wisdom. Rania's dream of getting a picture. Have you got a picture yet? No yet.
No, I'm still waiting for the photographer. Any photographer that can just take a good photo of me.
But your niece had offered it, right?
She didn't. I'm waiting for her to wake up.
We need to make an open call for photographers
to wake up early
on the show.
But she said that you used to give her a nice fees.
I did, yeah.
20 dirhams per photo.
Yeah, I actually I upped the ante a little bit. I'm now giving her like 35.
Wow.
But still, she will not agree to go to the House of Wisdom. She cannot wake up that early.
Uh-oh.
Because I want to catch the sun.
That's the situation. She's missing out, really. I mean, such a great place to go down. Yeah. And it's if you've not tried it yet, I think you you particularly, listener out there, are missing out, because it's a great place for a nice little ambience as well.
Yeah, it's a nice library, and there's so much to do there. You could, for instance, borrow many of the great books that they have in there as well. But you could also read the ebooks on the website, houseofwisdom.ae. They routinely hold events as well, primarily for children and young people as well, to build their ideas and develop their storytelling. They also hold art exhibitions. It's just a great space, wide open. You've got large
Cafes.
glass panes and windows with the sun shining in. Just a great place to spend an afternoon reading and having a quiet time.
Great coffee and food too.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can print a book, I believe.
Yes, you can. That's a pretty cool.
And you saw the process of that.
I
You
did see the
actually
process.
Went and
This was done when it first opened,
Yeah.
and we did. Us as Pulse 95 and most of the media outlets went over to check out the library, and it was great how they had a book where if you hold the rights to a book or a PDF to what you have, or even if there's a catalogue as well, if you want to print a certain book, it comes with a bit of a fee as well, and it's just amazing how it gets printed right in front of you. But what I loved the most, to an extent, it was a little bit of an eye-opener as well. It was the fact that it gets very busy. I literally turned up thinking I'll be welcomed with open arms. We're like, here's a nice table reserved for you. Go in, sit and work. No, I had to look for a space for at least
definitely.
half an hour because it was busy.
It was packed.
And it's a place...
It's always packed nowadays.
Yeah. And
Ever since it opened, actually.
what I like about it as well is that it's now become a place to be seen.
It
Oh,
is.
really? What do you mean by that?
It's prestigious, by the way.
It's considered like you're in a
place.
cool place.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, God.
It's
The
not
spot.
you're working in a library, or you're a hard worker or spending some time. It's a social gathering spot
It
now.
is the spot. It is the
Yeah.
spot. Yeah.
So
People conduct their business meetings there.
They do.
They have their business lunches there as
Yeah.
well. So it's amazing.
And of course, they have a nice little a bit of a courtyard in the middle, air-conditioned courtyard
Right.
as well. So if you do go there, grab a book and want to sit down, it's got a nice atmosphere for garden. So if you've not been down to the House of Wisdom, add it to your diary, and trust us, you will not regret it at all.
Not at
And
all.
whilst you're there, you can write a little bit of a note for Rania saying, "Look, I can be the photographer." And we will not.
I want to take an Instagrammable picture outside the House of Wisdom. That's what it is.
Maybe the guys there
Artistic one, a very unique one.
a live show from the garden of House of Wisdom. Scorching heat of August. Why not? That could be done. that could be that'd be a cool idea. Well, stay with us in the morning Majlis. We'll continue the discussions here in the program. We'll be back again right after the news headlines, and it's going to be Aisha Al-Mazmi once again briefing us on the world of news. And when we do return, we'll continue the discussions, and this time it's going to be the world of museums in Sharjah, as well as one interesting story that I'm really looking forward to discussing is a hacker has now finally released the cryptocurrency stolen funds, and that is something that we'll be discussing in greater detail.
Because it's worth hundreds of millions.
Wow.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Stay with us. This is the Morning Majlis. We'll be back again after the news headlines.
Stay fit. Stay fit. Stay fit.
You can be a great athlete, but you don't have to be an influencer. Unless you're Mo Salah. Literally. Two British girls, they confirmed that they had been influenced by the humility and the conduct of the Egyptian professional footballer Mohamed Salah, who plays as a forward for Premier League club Liverpool, and of course captains the Egypt national team. So the two girls, they actually converted to Islam during a visit to Aswan in Egypt.
That's right. It's a great story here. British sisters Nikki and Amy said, quote, "We were influenced by the morals of Muslims in Europe and the humility of the Egyptian Mohamed Salah. They expressed their love for the Islamic religion. They're happy to embrace it now, and they've been studying and thinking about it for some time, but it's great to see that Mo Salah is a role model, not just for what he does on the field, which is absolutely amazing, but also off the field as well."
Yeah, great work, and become a massive star indeed, and it's great to see that people get influenced by good conduct, and it can go a long way. But sadly, one not so pleasant news emerging from Mo Salah is Liverpool has refused to release him for World Cup qualifiers, and that's also because of COVID-19 restrictions, because Egypt remains on Britain's red list, and striker Salah would be required to quarantine for 10 days should he return from Cairo. The reason why there was a bit of a request for him to go off was because Egypt is set to play Angola in Cairo on the 1st of September before playing Gabon 4 days later in Franceville. So that's the update from the footballing field, as well as another story to discuss and highlight is Arsenal not being in the best of all forms when it comes to the start of the Premier League. Arsenal has lost both first two games without scoring, and they have been against Brentford and Chelsea, and they're going to be facing up Manchester City up next, and that's going to be another tough encounter. So not the best of all moods would Omar Douri be, being an Arsenal fan. So we'll have to catch up with him and discuss and dissect what might be going wrong with the team.
Yes, indeed. And we'll keep you posted on updates on the world of sports. So much is happening here. We're also gearing up for that big fight next week. Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley. And Jake Paul himself, I couldn't believe it. I mean, Jake Paul, in case you're not familiar, he's a YouTube star, very popular with children, and is known for his corny pranks and his erratic behavior. But now he's pretty much turned into a formidable fighter. He had a recent fight. His boxing record is 3-0 right now. Fought Ben Askren last time, beat him decisively, and now he's upping up the competition with Tyron Woodley from the UFC. So Jake Paul's a serious fighter. I can't believe it. But yeah, that's going to take place on August 29. And I can't wait to see it happen. Those social media boxing events are getting more and more high stakes now.
I just want to ask a question. What got him to be so big? What is it about him?
He started out on Vine. If you remember those back in the day.
Yeah, I remember those, yeah.
Make really short videos, and it's just very slapstick humor.
Yeah.
Absurd slapstick type humor, where just so easy to share and goofy and funny. And he just kept evolving with the whole YouTube thing, making vlogs, and now
that kind of attitude kind of attracts Gen Z, right?
Definitely does.
But he also works really hard. Him and Logan Paul, they like the amount of vlogs they put out through the years and videos, and Jake Paul started in Disney as well.
I remember it was big, like at the time when he made a beef with his brother or something.
That was part of it too, yeah.
Like he was just trying to like get attention, I guess.
Conflict gets people watching, so they create that for sure.
But people can't see through that. Like they're trying. I mean, I don't get it.
Just find it entertaining.
It's fun.
It's entertainment. It's like a cartoon show.
Gone are the days of watching like proper TV series. When we were growing up, we used to be watching. We used to be watching shows such as The OC, for example, and all those famous American ones. One Tree Hill as well, being very, very popular. But now for these guys, it's like, yo, what's up, dude? On my YouTube.
I feel like it's effortless.
No, he works really hard.
Really?
You can tell that there's been a lot of thought gone into the content, but it's not excessive thought that makes you seem overworking and too much of...
Doesn't exhaust you when you're watching.
Yes, exactly. So it's just simple, straightforward humor.
I guess that's what people are looking for nowadays.
But the thing about it is, Jake Paul has an army of people that he hired. I mean, in his house, all these other people that go up on his videos, they look like his friends in the videos, but they're actually... It's like he's running an acting studio where he's directing videos, and he has performers, and he has people who edit his videos. So it's like
he has a whole team.
Yeah. You're seeing a video of like Jake Paul doing a vlog, but there's an army of people behind it, and it's a meticulous product, and he's been doing it for so long. So there's something to say about that for sure.
Well,
shout out to all content creators out there, indeed. Well, guys, the morning Majlis will be heading off, and I'm sure you guys catch up with lots of YouTube stars. If you want to catch us on YouTube, you can do so.
Yeah, we're trying to be stars on YouTube.
Why not?
Help us. Share, like, subscribe to the Morning Majlis on Pulse 95 Radio on YouTube.
What do they say? Slam that like button.
Slam it.
Slam that subscribe button. Yeah, our YouTube channel is Pulse 95 Radio. We live stream our music, our content, our programming. And if you'd also like to check out our podcasts, We upload daily on Spotify, SoundCloud, and Apple Podcast. So just type Morning Majlis on those platforms.
Yes, of course, and we'll be back again tomorrow morning, Wednesday, and then on Thursday we have a special program for the Emirati Women's Day, so do stay tuned.
We're looking forward to that. We're going to have some guests.
Yeah.
Wonderful guests as well.
That'll be a surprise.
Definitely will be. Well, guys, for now, we'll be heading off and we'll be back again tomorrow morning, so we'll catch you then. And if you'd like to drop us a feedback, you can do so on the text line 4215 and also comment on the videos on YouTube should you wish to do so. It's goodbye for now.
If you liked this episode of The Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.
Pulse.